Hey, it's Terry Gorry, and this is the Irish Law and Small Business podcast. This video I want to take a look at the question of the housing shortage and landlords. Why are landlords leaving the market in such great numbers? My name is Terry Gorry, I'm a solicitor. I make videos on this YouTube channel about Irish law, business, entrepreneurship, all that sort of stuff. There's a housing shortage, obviously, in Ireland. There's a critical shortage of accommodation, rental accommodation, houses to rent, and landlords have been leaving the market in great numbers over the last number of years. The Irish Times ran a story there the other day. They invited readers to explain why it was they were leaving the market, the landlords leaving the market and getting out of letting properties. So Aisling Flynn in Dublin, I'm a landlord in a house in Drimna. We had a tenant absolutely trash the house. We got the deposit back, but the damage extended to more than 10 grand. We couldn't claim tax relief on the repair work. It's back to close to the values we paid. We most likely will sell. We can't keep subsidising ownership. Dave Sheehan in Dublin, he's not an accidental landlord, he's a benign landlord. He has 2 properties, but he believes that he's tired of the government assuming that he's trying to screw every tenant that he gets into the place. Danny Leeson in Galway, with call-outs from tenants at all hours for ridiculous things such as a blown light bulb, 2-bedroom apartment, horrendous experiences in the past, people not paying rent or wrecking the property, us having to clean up afterwards or deal with antisocial behaviour and subsequent complaints from neighbours and so on. Shane McGee, he had a tenant refuse to pay rent for 15 months. Small landlord for 20 years. He had a tenant refuse to pay rent for 15 months, he claims, citing the Residential Tenancy Board's instructions as posted out to all rental properties to cease paying during COVID. He refused to engage, eventually leaving with rent outstanding. Dennis Murphy in Cork, what's the point? He's more trouble than it's worth. He's worked hard and built this house with his own hands. He's a carpenter. He's been renting it for a number of years, but he claims that the RTB, the Residential Tenancies Board, is tenant oriented, and now it has another law where I must register annually. It's another tax to pay their wages. The tenant pays nothing because the landlord is a softer touch. He's making the point there that the landlord has to register the tenancy every year with the RTB, whereas the tenant doesn't have to contribute anything to that. Nicola Fitzpatrick in County Galway, tenants have requested replacements for items they have broken, which is really difficult to justify. She has a 3-bed semi-detached house through a property company for the past 9 years, and she says, as a private landlord, the biggest issue is with the Residential Tenancies Board, which provides zero value for the fees it requires landlords to pay. Landlords have no rights, she claims. Everything is set up around the tenant. There definitely is a perception that the landlord gets a hard time vis-a-vis or by comparison with the tenant situation, and especially when they go to the Residential Tenancies Board to have a dispute or some sort of a determination. Francis Donaher, County Laois, the payments I receive are not meeting the mortgage payments. That's a different issue. That's his own decision, his own fault, quite frankly. He should have figured that out at the outset, but that's nothing got to do, quite frankly, with landlords leaving the market. He should never have got into the market first if he felt that the payments were not going to meet the mortgage payments, and quite frankly, it's not a big job to figure that out before you buy the house. Emma Mooney, we've decided to leave our rental property empty. It's sad as we've been inundated with requests to rent it. So here we have a lady in County Galway who has decided that the best thing for them to do is actually to leave the house empty. Lisa Mulligan, County Dublin, we spent 12 grand on a second shower but can't increase the rent. So they recently spent 12,000 euros putting a second shower on the property, but they're not entitled to increase the rent as we didn't move a wall or make any other structural change. It's ridiculous, all completely against the landlord. There is that perception there, certainly from landlords. Grania, County Dublin, for the genuinely decent landlord, what exactly is the incentive to rent out a property? So she is questioning the economics of it, quite frankly, and the whole tax situation. Anthony Stapleton, County Dublin, he's in the same boat. You wonder why you ever got involved. He's been a small landlord for more than 15 years. He's self-employed. It's his only pension. Fortunately now for him, he says he's had good tenants, but the crux issue is tax. Basically, he feels that the tax regime for landlords is manifestly unfair. AOM in County Cork, the damage was horrendous is the heading on this one. Our tenant took advantage of the RTB loophole and stayed at the property for 16 months without paying rent. That's the second such incident here that is reported in the Irish Times. No rent for 16 months, and what can you do as a landlord? Go after the tenant who's absconded or cleared out or left. You can't get blood out of a stone, so there's no point. The damage he caused was horrendous. We will never ever rent out a house again. That's AOM in County Cork. And then Niamh Farrell in County Limerick. She became a landlord when I moved out of Dublin to live with my partner during COVID. She purchased an apartment. She says the only thing that stops her selling is that I'd make a family with a young child homeless. So there is a huge amount of, when the tenants have more rights, the owners have fewer, so they start to exit the market. So Bill Ford in County Cork advances the proposition or the opinion that tenants have more rights, landlords don't have the rights, or don't get a fair shake, quite frankly, and they're leaving the market. You might say that that's absolute nonsense, that landlords have plenty of rights, and it's not the case that landlords are treated unfair. It's not the case that landlords have it handy in terms of good income coming in and good tax regime. But if that was the case, if those arguments were sustainable, then landlords would not be leaving the market in the numbers, in the droves that they're leaving. And the rental market now, with the number of properties available to rent, is in an appalling state. Definitely in this budget there will be something done for the landlord and the landlord class, but the difficulty is a lot of them have gone, they've left already, they've made irreversible decisions to sell, and that's that. And again, it's easy to say that the landlord should be doing this and other people should be providing private rental accommodation and other people should be doing this, that and the other. But when the ordinary man and woman gets into the arena and puts forward a house for rent, etc., and find that the house was a mess and the total loss came to €9,000, it broke me. These things, I know from my own experience, can occur. So that's the unfortunate situation. It's a story in the Irish Times. Basically, they're asking the question as to why landlords are leaving properties, leaving the rental market in such numbers, and you can see yourself from that sort of cross-section of responses why. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.